Good evening, listeners, brave navigators of the enigmatic and the concealed. Have you ever felt the pull of the unanswered, the allure of the mysteries that shroud our existence? For more than a decade, a unique comic publisher has dared to dive into these mysteries, unafraid of the secrets they might uncover. This audacious entity is Paranoid American. Welcome to the mystifying universe of the Paranoid American podcast.
Launched in the year 2012, Paranoid American has been on a mission to decipher the encrypted secrets of our world. From the unnerving enigma of MK Ultra mind control to the clandestine assemblies of secret societies. From the awe-inspiring frontiers of forbidden technology to the arcane patterns of occult symbols in our very own pop culture. They have committed to unveiling the concealed realities that lie just beneath the surface. Join us as we navigate these intricate landscapes, decoding the hidden scripts of our society and challenging the accepted perceptions of reality.
Folks, I've got a big problem on my hands. There's a company called Paranoid American making all these funny memes and comics. Now, I'm a fair guy. I believe in free speech as long as it doesn't cross the line. And if these AI-generated memes dare to make fun of me, they're crossing the line.
This is your expedition into the realm of the extraordinary, the secret, the shrouded. Come with us as we sift through the world's grand mysteries, question the standardized narratives, and brave the cryptic labyrinth of the concealed truth. So strap yourselves in, broaden your horizons, and steel yourselves for a voyage into the enigmatic heart of the Paranoid American podcast, where each story, every image, every revelation brings us one step closer to the elusive truth.
Hey, Paranoid American Podcast. Today we got Josh Steffen, who I know through Info Metal. If you don't know what that is, we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into music and conspiracy theories and Larsisms and a whole bunch of other really cool stuff. So sit back for this one. We're going to have fun. We're going to be chilling. And welcome to Paranoid American Podcast. Josh, man, thanks for coming.
Hell yeah. I'm more than happy to be here, man. Very cool what you got going on. I'm in full support of you and totally impressed with what you got going on. I'm happy to be here.
Go on. No, I'm just so me and you share a couple passions alike. One of those is the combination of conspiracy theory, go figure, but then music and like popular music, and then sort of using the combination of those things to bring it to a much different audience. Like in this case, info metal, right? Yeah, actually, why don't you describe what info metal is and what we're
okay. All right, perfect. Info metal is metal has always been like comedy for me. Like the more ridiculous it is, it makes me laugh, right? And then I got into Alex Jones and conspiracy theory stuff, and I got into it kind of as comedy, but really it stuck with me. You know what I mean? I don't know how you got into Alex Jones or conspiracies or anything, but it was more just shock value at first. And I realized how bombastic and ridiculous Alex Jones is, his old school rants and stuff. And I thought, man, I got to find a way to make his rants into metal. And it'd be the perfect combination, because I see like Rage Against the Machine in my head, who are like this political type band, this commie thing. But dude, that's like pussy shit compared to like what Alex Jones' message could be in a metal band. You know what I mean?
Don't take that bottle of cyanide. Don't chop your dick off.
Oh my God. There's just so many good rants. And I was a daily listener from like 2008 until like 2015. And then I think around 2018, I was just kind of getting bored of doing drum covers. I wanted to do this Alex Jones thing, right? And it turned into an obsession of mine. And then
that was one of my questions, was going to be like, when was your first sniff of Alex Jones? When did you do your first line of InfoWars? And it sounded like around 2008, which I think that gives you some conspiracy theory street cred. I think that I maybe came across them in the very early 2000s, maybe like 2000, or 2001, whenever he put out the Police State series. It was like a trilogy about how the military was giving all of their surplus stuff to these, police in various counties, and how now they had these crazy Humvees and like audio weapons. And as soon as he started talking about the audio weapons, I was in, bro, because I was like, how can I make one of those? Like, I actually want to invent another audio weapon.
LRADs, hey?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, right. And then 2008, I almost think of it in like vintages, like different wines have different vintages. And like the 2008 vintage Alex Jones, I want to say was at the tail end of his like FEMA coffin phase. And he was transitioning into something slight. And this was also the Born Again Alex phase, which I think was just part of his WWF character or his WCW, depending on what your reference is, right? But that was always my impression. Even the first time that I mean, those Police State videos, they seem serious because he's not shouting in them. He's got a very calm demeanor. It's well edited. Like the dude, outside of him being a personality on his show, he was badass at putting together like a documentary, like a narrative.
Absolutely.
Together. He was phenomenal. And he was one of the only people back in the early 2000s that was finding these weird articles that originally his sources were like Reuters and AP and just the standard stuff, the stories that didn't get the coverage. Now a lot of this sources are like, crazy bear, schizos.com blog. That's where some of these breaking news stories come from. But back then, bro, like vintage Alex Jones was a different animal than what we see today.
He was really good at being enough to be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? But he'd also be like, hey, Reuters is reporting this. You know what I mean? He would always do that. He'd always source whatever narrative he's
printed out and stapled. He'd like be holding them up and waving them around. And sometimes he would like read the headline and like, we're going to get into that. And then he never gets into it. You know what I mean? Because there's like a million tangents to come after that.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, it's just, I loved everything about his show. From like when I started, I went all the way back in his catalog as far as I could. Because I watched all of his documentaries. When I get into something, it becomes like a problem. You know what I mean? And that's what the Alex Jones show wasn't. It wasn't just him. It turned into like David Icke and just whatever I could find. It's fascinating to go from being a normal person. I voted for Obama, oddly enough. You know what I mean? And then I saw Fall of the Republic when that came out, and dude, everything cascaded for me when I saw that, and it was I didn't take it at face value, but the more you look into that stuff and the people that were surrounding the administration and all that, you've seen Fall of the Republic, right?
I think.
It was the excuse me, it was the Obama deception. Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
That's what it was. It was right after the inauguration, and he came out with that.
It was basically Obama standing, but he was holding like Bush's face as a mask or something right in front of him. And you could just see the cover and be like, "Damn, he got him!"
That just like shattered my whole world. Where one day you just realize, okay, I don't think any of this stuff is the way it's supposed to be, or the way I thought it was. Dude, I was glued to the freaking TV from like 9/11 until 2008, watching the war. You know what I mean? Unbelievable to have that perspective, and then kind of choose to dive in and see what all this bullshit is talking about with 9/11 is an inside job. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like open shut.
Well, do you have your thumb on the pulse of like the metal community at all? Because I mean, you've got a pretty large audience. You've got like 400,000 followers as of recording this. And Lars is wearing your Larsism shirt, so people obviously like Lars fans probably know about you through all sort like there. So you've got different people that are looking at your content and being introduced to stuff that are not coming
Correct.
from a political action. But do you have an idea, and just in general, and like the metal crowd, how prone they are to think 9/11 was an inside job, as an example?
Well, it seems like when I meet people in person, it's definitely more of a possibility than what I perceive on the internet. Um, a lot of people were totally revolted by the info metal, which I found it
Awesome.
kind of it took me back because it's like I just metal is comedy to me, and conspiracy is awesome, and I thought, dude, just yeah, like again, ultra political, right wing extremist metal, which has like a satirical touch to it. You know what I mean? You laugh and you frown at the same time. You know, it's
I'm just imagining someone wearing like a GG Allen shirt that's like, this info metal's disgusting, bro. Like, come on.
Whenever I got shit in the comments, and I was just thinking, boy, how metal of you. You know,
Well,
my singer is too
a badge
much.
of honor. It's a badge of honor if you're making metal music that people are offended about, right? That's almost a hard
Yeah,
thing to do in this genre among any others. It's like doing like shock rap or something, and someone
yeah.
being like, "Whoa, that's a little too far, guy."
That was the best part. That was like my defense mechanism in my head. Like this is part of the lore, right? People hate it because it's so offensive. Like yeah, my singer is banned. He can't even be on YouTube, and now he's singing a metal band. And then there's people that'd be like, "Fuck this guy, this Sandy Hook," and I just use it as like this is better. This is better. Again, this is revolting metal people. Some people get it, and it's that just warms my heart, because it is a niche kind of thing, right?
So when you're taking some of these clips, and I guess the info metal I'm introduced to, it's essentially clips of Alex Jones just ranting and screaming and saying funny phrases, and then turning those clips into hooks and kind of verses, Lucy, like forming a strong structure around them, and then you
Yeah,
just like blast on the drum set and just give him like a really cool backing so that as he's ranting, it's a legitimate metal song that you can headbang to and everything. It's like a full produced song.
it's what I try to do. Yep,
So
absolutely.
in some of these, like when he's on his rants, how much of this, because I'm sure this is like a normie listening to this for the first time, no context, this is what's going through their head. How much of this does this guy actually believe? Like, right? Or is this you saying more people need to hear about, don't drink cyanide and don't chop your dick off? Is that because you feel that this message is so important you need to get it out to the people? You already hinted that there's like a comedic effect to it. So how much of this is you laughing at or with Alex Jones, or like are you on that spectrum?
That's a great question. Probably exactly as much as Alex Jones is himself. You know what I mean?
That's a
Because
great answer, man.
because he knows exactly what he's doing with his mouth and his clips. He's an opportunist. He knows how to draw people in, but at the same time, he's not joking. There might be some comedic delivery to it, uh, and some exaggeration, obviously. But yeah, I think I'm just doing the same thing Alex is, where uh, I am a fan. I am subscribed to a lot of the stuff Alex Jones would talk about or he would cover. You know what I mean? Uh, by no means am I a detractor of his. I'm a big supporter, and uh, but at the same time, yeah, it's supposed to make you laugh, but it's supposed to give you a message too. Honestly, like when the pandemic was going, this is on Rumble, right?
Yeah, it'll, and whatever
Yeah.
you say,
Okay.
just don't hold back. Say whatever you want to say. Yeah, you're
All
fine.
right. But yeah, honestly, I kind of got out of conspiracy theory, and I was just kind of doing it for fun when I did this Alex Jones thing, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like, oh, dude, this is a fucking nightmare because it's literally I've been conditioned about this stuff for the past 10 years. Uh, you know what I mean?
You've been in training for the last decade.
Yes. This was supposed to be coming, and here it is, and I can't believe it's happening, and everybody is just rolling over, and it was like a nightmare to me. I was using the songs as a way to, I was pissed, and I was using them as like a fuck you, people. You're pathetic. Yeah, that was really something else. The whole pandemic situation. Um,
That
but
seems to be one of the big resurgences, or that was one of the big events that got more and more normies into the fold. And
damn right.
usually you can see exactly how this process works. I mean, if you've been paying attention to this for the last 10 years or 20 years or 30, however many extra decade, you've got more context for this, but there'll be this massive event and really no alternative interpretations allowed, right? They get
Yeah,
stricken from the mainstream medias, cliche and cringe as that is to even say, but that's what happens. And it forces people to seek out, like, what am I not understanding? Let me find someone else's interpretation.
yeah,
And then you find like a weird forum thread somewhere, and you're like, am I on the dark web? Is this like a hate site? Like, I don't know exactly where I'm at, but this is this new information I guess I was looking for. And those become these new routes that like entrap these normies and pull them away from whatever they were normally going to go and check on, like CNN or Fox or
yeah,
whatever it is. And I remember that's happened a few times, and the pandemic was one of the main ones that everyone kind of had to care about, right? This was an
yeah.
apolitical event. It doesn't matter what side of an issue you were on. This was like, do I actually, like, should I go outside or should I go outside? Like, that was that dire, right? It was no
Yeah.
longer some like subjective opinion you might have.
Man, it was. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that whole situation, and for how long it went on. Uh, and and like having kids and seeing like what happened with the just the grades that were affected by it. It's
Homeschool.
gonna, yeah, and it's gonna be like a cascading effect for a long time. And dude, I became very. I went from kind of like a full blown a daily conspiracy consumer to kind of getting out of it because honestly, I got sick of hearing how Chinese style censorship was coming, and I was getting the boy who cried wolf thing. You know what I mean? When you hear something every day, and
If you even like found yourself in some weird community that was into the Q stuff, every single day it was like at 4:44 p.m. TikTok. You know what I mean? Like, and there was all these predictions and prophecies made, and I could see how a lot of people would kind of get sick of that. I think in a similar way, but maybe for my saving grace through all of this like conspiracy is up until maybe the last couple years. I've only really cared about stuff that happened before I was even born, and that it was a healthy way to detach myself from getting too invested. Like, I don't care if a Democrat or Republican killed JFK. Like, what do I care? Those dudes are all even dead now, and it happened so long before. And I realized the
yeah,
closer and closer the conspiracies get to affecting me personally, that's when you're susceptible to be like, it was team A versus team B, and I think I'm on team B. It's a weird thing to be in, and it's tiring, and almost never is going to turn out right, because again, if you've been into this like conspiracy content for 10, 20, 30 years, you know that like no one really on the boots on the ground, like us, the normie civilians, we never have the full picture. Like, this is
yeah,
something in 40 years, someone's going to be like, man, I can't believe how many people fell for that. And it's like, that's us. We're the ones
yeah.
falling for it right now. We're going to be the ones that people are like, man, how did they fall for that?
I know. I always wonder that too. How much I'm falling for stuff at the moment. I try to remain fairly apolitical myself. I like to I like watching Trump uh, just as like a pro wrestling
Yeah,
fan.
like
You
us
know what I
too.
mean? Yeah. Uh, it was one of the greatest spectacles that ever happened on TV. Was that 2016 election? It's just everything about Trump with the media. I get a kick out of, but it doesn't mean I'm a full supporter of the guy. I might do it just to piss people off on my channel, dude. I got a thing just for ever since I started like doing Larsing videos, like where I'm kind of just playing like shit on purpose, and then I put it out. It almost feels like I'm like streaking, you know, like I'm at the Super Bowl streaking. It's
You just flop
exhilarating.
out on the counter at the bar, just like there it
Yeah,
is. Do
yeah,
something.
and that kind of led me to be like, yeah, now I want to do some info metal stuff. I I want to do things I find funny, and whether people get it or not. And oh shit, where was I going?
Well,
I don't
you
know.
were talking about how it feels like streaking sometimes, and that was what got you into wanting to just put and it doesn't sound like necessarily a political view, but here are things that
Oh
you should care
yes,
about more than others.
yeah. No, that's what I was getting at with the Trump thing. I got a mega hat, and the last thing you should do, like on YouTube, if you want to appeal to the masses, is put a fucking mega hat on.
Right.
That's why I do it. You know, like that's so hilarious to me. You know, and people get so pissed off. I actually the day I did that, yeah, because obviously I'm doing the info metal stuff. I have the Barry Soetoro shirt. You know, where's the birth certificate? And I got a mega hat. So it's just like, dude, it's like the trifecta of offensiveness, right? And dude, I lost so many people that day. I lost like 700 subscribers because I was just immediately a freaking Nazi homophobe because I was wearing the mega hat. And dude, I love that stuff, man. You know, I don't
And
even need to subscribe
how
to
much
it.
was 700 at that time? Like out of how many when we're talking?
Well, I really haven't gained much in the past few years. You know, like it just kind of ebbs and flows. I was probably at 300,000, and you know, I probably gain a couple hundred every month. I mean, keep in mind, I
You're
wasn't
being
very active.
throttled. Yeah, you're being throttled by the powers that be for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. When I was uploading just drum covers every day, obviously, the more you feed the algorithm, the more it favors you. And if I start doing info metal stuff, and an album takes me 6 months to do, and everything I put out is kind of like not everybody's gonna get it. It's like, hey man, where the fuck's the why aren't you playing Slipknot?
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude, this is so much more than a freaking drum cover. You know, like I'm making this. This is hilarious. Um, but yeah, I could use a little help with video editing, and like I didn't really know what I was doing, but um, the whole spirit of it is great. If there was only the audience that could capture it. It was a shame I wasn't earlier because I started doing this right when Alex Jones got kicked off of every platform. You know, so horrible recipe for promotion and trying
Right,
to
yeah, yeah.
grow
To
my
put one
channel at
egg in
all.
the Alex Jones basket, and now like he loses his entire platform and anyone associated with it, and hopefully you don't have like a Bank of America account because that's gone now too. Like
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
This
and
that's just it's not just AJ, man. That's just conspiracies in general because conspiracy theories. I'm learning late, right? I'm in my 40s now, and I'm just starting to realize oh, it's more about the establishment does not want anyone to promote conspiracy theories because it undermines your faith in the system, period. It doesn't, it's maybe not even that they care about like who killed this particular politician or whether or
yeah,
not MK Ultra was real or how many kids died in some tragedy. Of course, they're trying to smooth that stuff over, but ultimately, it's because they don't want the masses of normies to be like, I don't think these people know what the hell they're doing, right? Like that's sort of
yeah.
the ultimate goal is to avoid that. And by just promoting anyone that makes that question pop into normal people's heads is sort of the enemy. And that's a fine line to dance on.
I agree. It's the Wizard of Oz. You know
Right.
what I mean? Yeah,
But there's lots and lots of wizards in our Oz. There's like
yeah,
tens of
yeah. But real,
thousands,
it's
maybe
all
hundreds
if the perception ain't there, it all falls, you know. And yeah, the people got to have the proper perception of it. If, like I was saying about the Obama deception, this one day when you realize, oh shit, 9/11, yeah, that wasn't what they said it was. dude, when your world collapses, that is what ultimately, it doesn't matter what does it. It's when you realize, holy shit, I was wrong, and they're not telling the truth. Yeah,
The 9/11 one was one of the more interesting to me because every other conspiracy theory I've ever heard it compared to, they're usually talking about a one-off situation. Oklahoma City, that was a one-off. Like that, like in that it was one bomb at one building, right? And one guy gets pinned on, based on the official story. If you talk about Waco, if you talk about Ruby Ridge, if you talk about almost any other, even like Gulf of Tonkin, it's kind of one dude in one boat in one area. 9/11 is like not just the three planes, but there's all like the NORAD stand down stuff and the training that they had going on, the people that were getting trained to like fly plane. Like once you add it up, it's like 9/11 conspiracy is like at least 7 or 8 wrapped into one conspiracy. And it was in my mind now, it was the ultimate test because they were like, look, we need to knock out a few different projects. We got limited budget and timeline. Let's just do them all on this one day. Each of them will kind of cover each other up. And it'll also be a test to see how successful has the CIA been. And I forgot the guy's quote, but one of the directors or something was like, once the American public, everything they believe is a lie, will know we have done our job. It was sort of that was our pop quiz. 9/11 was the pop quiz to figure out how far along the CIA is in their goal to just make us believe nothing but lies and like invert facts and fiction. So that one, it's the hardest one for a lot of people to accept, and it's also the one that people dig their heels. I would almost compare 9/11 to like World War II in the scope of how many different conspiracies and projects were kind of going on. It's that level of a scale, I think.
Yeah, yeah. That's also the thing that kind of sealed the deal for me. I mean, everything from like the attack, the response to the attack, the demolition, the people who benefited from the destruction of the buildings.
So who do you think did it? Who ultimately, like, what do you think the sequence of event? And we're not going to hold your feet to the fire and be like, you're never allowed to change your mind. But like, what's your current thinking after everything you've absorbed over the last 2 decades?
I would think it'd have to be, yeah, the whole PNAC document. It was the neocons. Well, I mean, here's the thing. This probably goes way before 9/11. But the people who were, as far as like carrying it out, yeah, I would think it would be the PNAC Fox, right? Which was like Crystal Wolfowitz, the Bush administration, um, Mossad. They had a lot going on with it. Obviously, Saudi has ties. Um, about David Icke with his sabotage Zevi stuff.
Yeah,
How
of
far
course.
that shit goes back. I mean, yeah, I think all that stuff is interconnected.
And this one was predicted. So for the like the hardcore 90s conspiracy theorists and before, this was a recurring theme because there had been previous attempts on the trade towers, you know what I mean? Like that this was not like a brand new concept that no one saw this one coming, even though that was the official response was like no one ever saw this coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got all of those different assets involved in it. And what do you think is the biggest resistance? Like, if you were to just go and grab a random listener out of the comments and you're like, let me convince you that 9/11 was an inside job. Like, do you see like the most sort of like anti-conspiratorial comments that come at you? Like, what the biggest complaints are? Like, where is that the main frame of reference where it's like, this is garbage. I can't believe I'm seeing this because dot dot dot.
I guess it'd be hard for me to say. Honestly, metal people would be more susceptible to conspiracy theories and stuff. But I also feel like there's a younger generation and a more of a like a soft lefty type thing. It's just again, to wear the Trump hat. I kind of like ironically shitheadish to get a rise out of somebody, and then it does. It tells me something that like about their character. But I feel like those are just kind of outliers. Yeah, what was your question? If I was the
What do
be in
you
the
think? I mean,
comments?
like, you just kind of answered it though. It's just that maybe there's a younger generation coming through of maybe they're figuring out if they're metal fans or not, but that they are maybe by default liberal, if especially if you're going through public education and even like
Yeah,
a conservative area. Teachers have basically infiltrated academia. I know how silly that is the sound, right? But like the teacher mentality of constantly falling on a cross and being a victim and being underpaid and like, yeah, I'm here with the
yeah,
workers and the unions. And I think all of that is baked into that. So yeah, by default, most kids that are discovering new music and new videos and stuff on the internet are coming from a very specific bias. And I
it's,
think it was there too when me and you were probably going through grade school. It was there as well, but I
yeah,
almost feel that it's been sliding more and more to one direction, right? So now you wear a red hat to school, you're probably going to like ISS or something. They might arrest you. You might have like a criminal record at that point.
yeah. There's definitely more shitheadery when I was a kid than there is now. How old are you, by the way?
I'm
If,
turned 42 this year.
oh, no shit. Okay, we're the same age. Yeah, I graduated in
Nice.
2001.
We grew up in the greatest days of the Satanic Panic. That's how I like to think about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I got to see the '80s hair metal stuff as like a real young kid. I got to go through the '90s with Slayer, and Nirvana, and new metal, all that stuff. But yeah, everything just kind of went puss. It seems. But after that, but maybe that's just because I'm old now. I don't know.
I kind of see that, although in retrospect too, especially with the pandemic, right? And you see all of these groups that are then mandating government documentation in order to get into shows and stuff. That was for me. That was one of the final nails in the coffin of like, damn, bro, just never meet your heroes. Realize that nostalgia is a drug, just like anything else. There's really nothing to all of this, and it was.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew that Rage Against the Machine were hardcore. I mean, freaking Che Guevara, right? Like, they kind of had a very specific flavor. They weren't surprising me by being anti-Trump, but
yeah,
the way that it all came together over the following year, and that's just the easiest example of many. But you can almost go down the list of all the different groups and people that I guess I looked up to as like these counterculture heroes. Who would have known that like D. Snyder and like you know uh, all these other guys that were not at the top of my list, maybe growing up, like, yeah, sure, Twisted Sister, and maybe I don't want to do my homework and I want to yell at the teacher, but he wasn't like my hero. But he was one of the few that seemed to like keep not giving a shit and keep
yeah.
speaking out of turn. Not that I'm like siding with D. Snyder in particular here, but just an example of a lot of those guys.
Yeah, I agree. There was a lot of people who had some very disappointing stances with COVID and all that stuff. Jesus Christ, even like Noam Chomsky, uh, he was coming out just talking about freaking. I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but it's just incredible. But you hear about the Offspring too, like their drummer. They got rid of their drummer because he didn't take the vax. And their band was on a podcast and they're talking about punk rock and bucking the system and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, you guys kicked your fucking drummer out because you wouldn't take the vax. It's like that was honestly the line in the sand for me. At my day job, we all had to wear freaking masks and stuff, and it turned into like this little people policing other people thing. That was the most heartbreaking thing about the pandemic was that everybody was falling for it, and you were bad if you didn't play along with it. It was honestly like really heartbreaking, and all I could think was just like, dude, I don't want to hear about this like home of the free, land of the free, home of the brave shit anymore. You people aren't free, you're not brave, and like whatever you think, people died for. Uh, you wasted it. You suck. It was really sad. Um, there was the fear of the mandate coming up and at work that they were going to force everybody to do it. And I said, dude, honestly, this ain't going to happen for me. It's going to be my line in the sand. And it was the same way with the whole family, and even that uh, other people in my family are like, dude, what the hell, man? They were so pissed at me because yeah, you let all that conspiracy theory stuff ruin
Yeah,
you.
man.
And
And
it's like,
this
no,
is
dude, you don't
another one of
understand.
those early on. This was fairly apolitical. It took, it's so weird. It took like a political lean at a certain point where it's like, oh well, if you're not going to get, if you're not going to go to Walgreens and let them experiment on you, then you must be voting for this candidate over this candidate, and it got really silly. But at the very beginning, like everyone was waiting to see where the chips would fall. Right, this was a
Yeah.
bipartisan issue, and some people just believed it, and some people didn't, and some it was out of fear, and some it became this like mandate thing. And I you could almost see it in real time where people that were sort of coerced into doing it because of job or government, requirements, military
Yep.
personnel, but like if you want to go on tour with your band and you're opposed to it, just those
Yeah.
little things where now they've got like they're breeding this resentment towards what they perceive as the people around them that kind of forced them to do this. But then also in a really complex way, it's like, well, I was forced to do it, and I'm talking to this idiot over here. And even though I agree on a deep level that neither of us should have to do it, the fact that I got talked into it and you haven't yet, now I'm mad at you too. Like I'm mad at me and I'm
Yeah.
mad at everyone else, but I'm also mad at you, even though you're doing what I wish I would have done, which is making me even madder the more I think about it. And it's something that maybe this only happens once every 100 years because of how obvious it is. But again, in my
Think that is
schizo mind, this is the litmus test. This is when they're like, all right, let's run test 47B again and let's see how the population fares. And they're like, okay, well,
oh
that noted. We've taken down the notes. All right, we'll try
yeah.
this again in 50 years.
Yeah, imagine how, like, yeah, say there is the masterminds who through this whole pandemic out just to study how people would, how much they would fall for. Dude, they had to have been so happy with the results, because yeah, it worked very well. It was a great test study for them, and it scares me for the future too because, uh, dude, I went to Walmart the day the pandemic had hit. What was it, like late February of
Yeah, it was weird. It came
2020?
in waves. It came in waves between, all right, now the news is taking it serious. All right, now the government's taking it serious. Okay, now the government says restaurants are closed. And then it like started just degrading from there. And oh,
Yeah,
now we're gonna shut down more than just, like these specific areas of business. But then you're like, but like the sweet treat is allowed to be open, or like Ben and Jerry's is allowed to somehow be open because that's some mandatory government service. And now they're giving out like chili dogs and stuff and then donuts, and like, is this a health issue? Like it was weird the way that like first the carrot came out and then the stick
yeah,
came out, right? And it was in phases because the people that signed up first, they got the donuts. The people that signed up last, they got fired. It was like, now
yeah,
the next time this comes around, do you want the donut or do you want the pink slip? You get to, pink frosting, pink slip. Which one do you want?
yeah. Man, it was just it was so disgusting, the whole thing. Um, what was I saying before about? I suppose now we can move on. I was going to say something about my family being pissed off at me about that stuff. Uh,
You said you were like, oh, you really believe all this conspiracy theory stuff now, and that like
oh
that was
yeah,
the reason that you
yes,
were doing it.
dude, you're really good at jogging my memory. You're perfect at this, man. But yeah, that was always their comeback. It's like, yeah, it's just because you are into conspiracy theory stuff and you think 9/11 was staged and you think everything was fake, and
Well, yeah.
it's like no, but you don't understand. It's one thing for me to tell you this stuff, but I have actual information. Like the, even if I was to throw 60% of it over my shoulder, that 40% is something you don't know and it should concern you. You know what I mean? Like I know what I'm talking about, at least more than you do. It's that is the best part about learning about this stuff. I even get into like I look for the dumbest stuff I can find because again, it's kind of like metal. Like I want to find the most ridiculous thing because we'll go, all right, you know, um, and I'll take it or leave it. Sometimes even in the dumbest information, it could be flat Earth stuff. There might be a nugget of stuff in there that ties in with that actually does make a lot of sense and ties in with a different you know sphere of thought. You know what I mean? Uh,
Right. I
we're
mean,
getting into
almost all of these, if it's conspiracy theory or flat Earth stuff, a lot of these conspiracies really at the surface level, which isn't is a good and a bad thing, but it almost amounts to yeah, but you only believe that because you listen to the news. Or if it's flat Earth, it's like, okay, you believe in a globe Earth, but that's just because you listen to your teachers or you believe the books that they gave you in school. And at some point, you can be like, well, yeah, of course I did. That's conventional knowledge. But also, there's an admission to like, you're just going to take all this, like, you're not going to go and research and decode the original Greek writings about all these measurements. And so, yeah, like our entire
yeah,
knowledge and social systems are built on believing whatever these legends are that kind of like precede us, because not many people have the time or even the willpower to like reprove all of reality and logic to themselves from scratch. So you kind of have to pick exactly where you're willing to be like, all right, from 1890 and forward, I'm just going to believe what everyone kind of said was the truth at that point, which is it's in itself its own faulty way of thinking, because not everything that we believe can be true. It just seems impossible because we're still figuring shit out. But
yeah,
like, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But it is interesting. This is like the flat Earth in particular takes that to the most extreme, where it's like, yeah, but this person in 1970 proved it with this telescope. Well, that telescope's not real. Okay, well, the telescope and the theory was built on like this like 1890, or so this something that they came up with in 700 AD, and it's like that dude didn't exist. Like you can just keep throwing that in there, like, well, that doesn't exist. That was just made up like 20 years ago, right? And I
yeah,
find that fascinating. It's one of my favorite conspiracy theories for that reason, because it's another litmus test. Like, how many layers of the onion can you peel back? And then someone's like, the onion doesn't exist, right? There is no spoon. Like, it's the ultimate sort of
yeah,
like
yeah. I know. It's
conspiracy
just
theory.
I love the blanket assertions that flat earthers make. But what is it? Dinosaurs didn't exist. Nuclear bombs don't exist. Satellites are fake. Space is fake. Right?
The sun is local, the moon is local. Those are some
Yeah.
good ones with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
actually I like the logic behind some of them. They just it's like if you had to pick one of the two, you can kind of like just throw your hands up like, I don't care. I won't know. I won't ever know. I'll be agnostic about it. But usually you'll say that when you just want to get away from a flat earther. Like,
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
you have
Right.
to make up your mind.
The one that gets me, honestly, though, is water's level. Uh, I want a good answer to this. I mean, honestly, water is level. At what point, uh, at what height does it not become level and it adheres to a, at a certain point, it's not level anymore. I want that explained to me. That doesn't make me a flat earther, but you know what I mean? Water's
I
level.
do. Although from almost every account of this, water is always level. It tends to go to an optical observation. Like we're talking optically. So like, show me a picture, show me a diagram, show me something where the curve now becomes flat because water's supposed to be level. But that's, in my opinion, that's also faulty thinking, because you're relying on like your visual eyesight. Like, you're looking through globes, you know what I mean? So at
Yeah.
some point someone's going to be like, well, you can't really prove it until your eyes are flat. Like, where does it end? Where do like the qualifications end until you find true, like, actual proof? And almost it makes me conjure up like platonic solids, right? Like the Plato's concept of a perfect sphere. I don't think anyone's ever really found a real example of a perfect sphere, yet it's the model. It's like the frame of reference that everyone's got for basketballs and baseballs and molecules and anything that, even in the planet, right? But even the planet itself wouldn't be a perfect sphere, which even if you were to say like, okay, maybe it's flat, maybe it's a globe, but if it is a globe, it's not a perfect sphere. It's going to be some janky, like jacked up version of a pear or something, right? Or like a peach, which I
Yeah.
think is just as fascinating. Like, why does that work? Why isn't it perfect? Why isn't it closer to perfect?
I keep hearing more of that. That yeah, it's oblong, or yeah, it's oblate, or yeah, it's
It's not even a particle, bro. It's a wave. You know what I mean? That's gonna be the next version of it.
Christ.
Like the
Yeah,
globe is just one big double slit experiment. Like if you're pointing a camera at it, it's gonna look one way. If you're pointing like another measurement device, it's gonna look some other different way.
yeah, kind of like Venus, dude. I just saw a picture of Venus, and it looks like a fucking glowing orb. What the hell is that all about?
Aliens, I mean, confirmed, right? Illuminati and aliens
Yeah,
confirmed. Just that's all it takes.
yeah, right.
So where are you
But
at on space? Is space fake or is space real?
oh, I don't know. Again, I guess I
What do you
really
want to
don't
believe?
care, but
What do you want to believe? If you could pick, if you could make the decision for everyone right now, are you going to make it fake or are you going to make it real?
um, I'll just say this off the top. I've been telling people that I'm at the point where just for fun, I want to start subscribing to like the Smurfs. You know, like the way the Smurfs is, where it's almost just like cauldrons and witchcraft, and it's dude, everything is like old ceremonial magic and all this stuff. I don't know. I'm just having fun, not really caring at this point if space is fake or not. For all I know, Saturn is um, broadcasting a frequency that's coming off of the moon. That's creating uh, our reality. That's trapped in the speed of light.
Right.
Possibly,
This is like some OG David Icke sort
yeah,
of physics. Yeah.
yeah. Saturn might just be a concept for all I know. It old world. You know, again, I'm just bored, and I like to look for cool shit to watch. That's how I came across you. I mean, it's just interesting stuff. You know, I came across you and Donut doing that at 11 o'clock every night. Like
Oh
you were
yeah,
doing
man.
that
That
live
was
stream every
quite
night.
the experience. Yeah, we got that again. That was a little out of my comfort zone because I focus on stuff that happened before I was born, or at least a few decades. And Donuts,
Oh, okay.
his perfect formula is reporting on like what happened that day or that week, like what's current in the news. And it was way out of my comfort zone to form an opinion on things that were just happening because I'm so used to sitting in the
Ah,
bleachers and being like, all right, let's see how this all turns out. And now it's like, what do I actually care about that's happening on a day-to-day basis? And that was just as fun for me to figure out what I cared about were the freaking monkeys that got out in South Carolina from the Alpha Genesis plant, which never got resolved. They never found those remaining ones, and all the other reports that came out of it. So yeah, it's
oh,
interesting on like
Christ.
how much
Dude,
I
I
cared about
remember. I remember hearing you guys talking about the monkeys. What exactly was that? Don't tell me we got GMO monkeys running
Oh,
around.
dude, 100%. They were testing all so it was the one of the biggest monkey breeding facilities in the United States. They have an entire island off the coast of South Carolina called Monkey Island. They also have facilities. The Alpha Genesis guy, he goes back into doing weird like emotional research with like he was correlating everything he was doing to monkeys to humans early in his career before he becomes this founder CEO of Alpha Genesis. But Alpha Genesis, they lose like somewhere around 40 monkeys, but this isn't the first time it's happened. In fact, it happens basically like every year. And the worst part is when
Jesus.
they investigate because the news is like, oh, that's quirky. Monkeys are on the loose. Let's write about this. And then they start looking into the company and they're like, oh my God, there's all these sort of like animal rights violations and horrible tales of them going to catch like a little rhesus
Oh,
monkey in a tree, right? A little cute dude that you saw in like Ace Ventura's shoulder, right? Like a cutie
yeah.
guy, right? And they're taking him out with these huge ass darts to where the dart is supposed to knock him out so they can bring him back, but the dart just shatters right through their arm because it's made for like an ape, not for a freaking rhesus
Jesus
monkey. And the
Christ.
people running these facilities, they don't really care. They're not really qualified to work with rhesus monkeys. They're just there because they're willing to do the work for the budget that, there's given out to them. And it's interesting because this also becomes the basis for they're doing research for all types of pandemic solutions. The Zika virus, remember when people were getting bit by mosquitoes and thinking their babies were going to come out looking like cone heads? That was
Mm-hmm.
where most of that Zika research was being done as well. So you got these
Ah,
little
Christ.
weird petri dishes that are filled with all kinds of patented compounds just out in nature. And no one wants to really make a commotion about that part. It's just like, oh, that's funny. Monkeys on the loose, you know?
GMO dolphins, like that was one of the Alex Jones lines in one of my songs. He talked about all that stuff, GMO fish, GMO mosquitoes,
It's
dolphins,
turning the freaking frogs
yes,
gay, man.
turn the frogs gay, spider monkeys, and, and again, it sounds outrageous, but that shit's going on, man. You know, uh,
But it's a
those,
good example because, again, I always try to think back to like how does this look to normies? Because in my mind, that's kind of like the goal is to be able to talk on the level with like the craziest schizo conspiracy theorist out there, but then also turn to like my nana at the Thanksgiving table and be like, "All right, nana." Like I'm gonna convince you that what this crazy dude is saying is actually has some merit to it, and figuring out like that translation is kind of hard. But when it comes to animal testing, for example, if you can get someone to care about this weird
oh
thing
yeah,
happening with like a monkeys, and if you can get them that far, you could be like, they're doing it to us too. You know what I mean? It's not like once you get them to accept that, wow, you mean they're not following the law? That's not like any company I've ever worked for or interacted with. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
dude, just go, it's all the way down. Like it's incompetence or corruption all the way down.
It's an icebreaker. Yeah, a great way to get the normies in. Yeah,
If
yeah.
you
Animals
drop
will do it.
if you went to like a big family, Thanksgiving dinner, like everyone flies in from the various parts of the country or whatever, and you just drop that. Oh, by the way, I don't think 2020 was real. Oh, by the way, 9/11 was an inside job. What would be the split be? Like what's the over under on this?
Like at a family meeting. Ah,
Yeah, like
Christ, dude.
if everyone gets into like one side of the
Oh,
table, who's on your side, who's not on your
not
side?
not many are going to be on my side. Not at all. Mostly normies. Yeah. In fact, it would probably be a good family that we don't bring it up because we do have a few far righters, mostly lefters, and yeah, I'm just a crazy guy who doesn't
Okay,
believe
so this is
in
like a
any
church
any
or
of
a
them.
lock meeting. You just don't bring up certain topics because you know someone's gonna fly off on it.
Yeah, yeah, but when it comes up though, I have a blast though because it's like again, I know what I'm talking about, but yeah, it's you got to find those right subjects if you really want to get somebody to believe you. And the pandemic was a good one because it was right in your face. If they weren't 100% against you, they were starting to question it. Um, but shit, I'm losing it again, man.
Well, I want to ask that if we move away from like all the run of the mill conspiracy theories and political, are there any really cool like metal conspiracy theories that like the hardcore conspiracy theories might not know about, but like metal fans do? Like I don't know, like colognes or bands that took out their own members or anything that's like kind of niche in
Oh,
like the drummer or
oh,
metal world.
yeah. Oh, Christ. I don't know too much as far as that's concerned. Uh, my big thing I like to tell people about is that Jim Morrison's dad staged the Gulf of Tonkin.
Right?
Right,
Yeah, he was the commanding officer.
that's awesome. I know Dave Grohl's dad was Ronald Reagan's speechwriter. He has some interesting connections. Uh, Zappa, Frank Zappa, their
Yep, his
family
dad
was
was intelligent, army intelligence.
military intelligence. I almost feel like I might have learned this stuff on your show. Like you and Donut were talking about this, but I know like tinfoil hat. I watch all that stuff too. Um,
Crosby, Stills, and Nash. There's so many
oh,
examples of like
Mamas and the Papas.
this counterculture that was really like the official culture and just like breeded them. But although, I mean, to play devil's advocate, I've heard the naysayer debunking aspect of this too, was that yeah, but freaking World War II had like just happened, and there were drafts, and like all able-bodied men that were able to go into the military probably served the military at some point, or at least more often than not. Whether it was Korean War, Vietnam War, World War II, like they had many opportunities to get pulled into the fold, and a lot of them maybe already had some kind of education, so they just become an officer in the military. So I mean, it's not saying that the pattern is not there and the pattern's not notable, but that being in the military is maybe not as impressive. But being military intelligence seems very, very specific, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to how rare it is to become a successful musician, to where people still know your name 100 years after you're dead, or 50 or 60 years after you're dead.
Yeah, it seems like all that military intelligence, it also is close with naval intelligence, and all that stuff is close with like Scientology and Laurel Canyon. There's all kinds of cool stuff with Laurel Canyon. Uh, you know about that, right? With that's probably where they stage all those nuclear tests and the moon landing, and
And
it's
maybe
reco-
like satanic sort of ceremonies. Yeah, all of that goes down
yeah,
in the area. And
yeah,
this is all for the CIA. They had houses that were just set up so that if you had transients that just wanted a place to do drugs for a few days, it was like, you can crash here. We want to be able to film and record you and have the scientist in a suit taking notes, but just don't mind that guy. Don't pay attention to the guy behind the curtain, right? Like,
yeah.
just do your
It's
heroin.
fascinating. Fascinating shit. Uh, I also heard that, well, I think Jared Leto owns that recording studio at Laurel Canyon now.
Yeah,
Um,
and he's like a cult leader now, like an actual cult leader, not just for like
yeah,
a part that he's playing.
yeah. There's like all kinds of creepy shit with that guy that I hear about in the
I feel like
conspiracy
there should be
world.
more though. I feel like there were way more cool rocker led cults in the 60s and 70s, and
Yeah, good point.
we've lost touch with that sort of original like American ingenuity of becoming a musician turned cult leader. So if anything, we need more Jared Leto's and not less.
Yeah, right. Yeah, where's Alex Jones when you need him, eh? If we could only get Alex Jones in like the real world, the front of metal band, that'd be pretty cool. You know?
It would be nice if there were more Alex Jones, but I also think that the ordeal that he went through, now people are looking at it
Oh
like,
yeah,
okay, maybe I don't want to be exactly like Alex. Like, even you said it yourself. You're kind of like, man, I kind of missed the boat on this Alex Jones info metal stuff because you can't really monetize it the same way that you could maybe 10
yeah,
years
yeah,
ago.
yeah. That's for sure. Good
It
point.
doesn't seem as lucrative anymore. Like for a while, he was the guy that was running the show. And this is another weird thing about 80s and 90s conspiracy versus 2020s conspiracy, where in 2020s, there's people tuning in to Alex Jones or whatever the personality is because they like that personality and they don't care what the hell they're talking about. Like they can be ranting about stuff they don't even care about. They just want to hear the rant, and that's part of the experience, the same way that maybe you would tune in a Daily Show or Colbert Report if you were on the other side, or if you had your own political
Yep.
leanings. Like maybe you don't care what they're saying, it's how they're saying it and like who they're going to make fun of this time. It's that same precedent, but it almost seems in the 80s and 90s that wasn't as strong, nowhere near as strong. It was like you were tuning into Alex Jones because it was the only place you were going to hear about weird tests about monkeys and like glow in the dark jellyfish and Hillary Clinton like eating people. That was the only place you would hear that content. And the same thing with listening to like AM Coast to Coast and listening to even like now in like Tinfoil Hat is another good example. Like you go there to hear this like
Yeah.
crazy content mixed with the personality, but that was a slow steep incline from people tuning into fringe news to get that fringe news. I mean, of course, Art Bell, for example, had fans, but a lot of the time it was like you want to listen for the people calling in and like the crazy stuff that they were going to
Yep.
say, like the content versus the I guess like the content over the form of it. And now it's almost like the aesthetic precedes it, right? How good are these guys' memes? How many cool sound effects do they have? Versus like what kind of interesting stuff are they bringing to the table? But I don't necessarily know if that's a bad thing, but it's definitely like this new cult of personality that's taken over every single industry, and conspiracy
Yeah.
theory like not even escaping from that.
Oh, speaking of cults, um, dude, it's so funny that Donut is a juggalo because, dude, I was like the biggest freaking juggalo growing up in school. I quit
Really?
listening
Did
to
you
like
have a
metal
juggalo name?
music. Huh?
Did you have a juggalo name?
No, I didn't have a juggalo name, but oh, he did.
I think Donuts literally was his juggalo name.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I might be a little more normie than him. I never went to a gathering of the Juggalos, but dude, I listened to all their stuff. I was the biggest freaking Juggalo, and they're like a cult. And I can say that as like a member, you know. Uh,
Do you have
I'm
a top
curious
ICP album?
if I had a top one. Oh Christ, it might be the Wraith. It might be the Wraith. I mean, Christ, the Riddle Box is good. Great Malenko is good. That's Malenko was when I got into him, and then from then on, I
That's
was
when
like,
they went mainstream, man.
yeah. Again, yeah, I was kind of late, but dude, I got all their B sides, all that shit. Honestly, that's the stuff I like more is their B sides. Um, Tales from the Lotus Pod,
How are
Dark
juggalos
Lotus.
on conspiracy? Do you know?
I would think again they would be very susceptible to conspiracy stuff. I would think, um, but then
I'm always
again,
surprised. I'm constantly surprised when you actually go and take these litmus tests, and it's like, man, what you're being like a weird conspiracy theorist right now. They got like the face paint on. They're like chugging Fago, right?
yeah, I would think they would definitely be susceptible to it. But then again, dude, I used to watch on YouTube the Gathering of the Juggalos, and dude, the shenanigans that are going on at these places, I can't believe this shit's real. Like, dude, they're fucking like rolling cars over in the audience and stuff, and there's people of all kinds that are juggalos. Maybe not all of them have the best intentions, but overall, I think it's a great community because it has that. Well, again, they have lore. They have like a storyline. They have lore. They have an aesthetic. Uh, they kind of make fun of themselves. It's not too serious, but they take it serious. You know what I mean? Uh, I loved everything about ICP. Yeah, I went from just like I I listen to heavy metal because I play drums and I need stuff to play drums to all right, now I just play drums, but I listen to ICP all day. And then I started playing along to ICP and shit, uh, playing along to lyrics. And, it's fun to be creative like that. But, dude, biggest juggalo. And I find it interesting that Donut is as well. And he even said, he's like, I'm kind of imprinted. He's fully aware that, you know, he's in the cult. I'm in the same cult he is with
I kind of,
with the
liked it
juggalos.
because I think I'm maybe I came around when Riddlebox came out, and then Great Malenko. So I mean, this was probably mid late middle school for the two of
Yep.
us.
Yep.
And I think at the time I also just remember it standing out because they're not pretending to not be theatrical. There was almost this in 80s hairband metal even. It was like they're taking themselves seriously, but also like he can't be slipping into these like skin tight leather jeans and putting hairspray on and putting his mascara and his lipstick on and being like, hell yeah, I'm like so metal right now. But maybe they were, and maybe they kind of like lost themselves in this personality. And with ICP, it just took it to an entirely different extreme where now
Yep.
it's not just like I'm gonna break into your school and dance and like yell in the teacher's face. Now it's like I'm gonna chop your head off. Like I'm going to literally murder you right now for fun and drink your blood. And it's not gonna be an Ozzy Osbourne shit. And then we're gonna like play carnival music behind it. and then they're going to come out, we're going to play games and give out toys, and it felt like an escalation of what I was already perceiving to be like these fake personas, where now it's like, how serious are these guys taking it? Like, okay, maybe D. Snyder is like sort of taking it seriously. How much is Violent J taking this? You know, is he going to actually chop somebody's head off? And I think that question, it made it sort of alluring. It was, I probably would have believed that ICP would kill you over Marilyn Manson. Like Marilyn Manson was almost like, okay, clearly the guy's putting on some kind of a performance, but ICP was just so out. Like maybe they've just smoked so much meth that they don't realize they're not actually killer clowns.
I honestly thought that they banged fat chicks, you know, and just the whole 9 yards. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they actually killed people, but I thought, a lot of this stuff is just so over the top. And again, every time I listen to them, I got a big freaking chuckle out of it the first time it hit me, and that's what it's all about for me. You know, I love that shit.
Everyone likes their comedy mixed with their music, but I think it's a perfect vehicle for that because it allows you to think things that you would normally think and almost process like emotions in ways that you normally wouldn't if you're trying to take everything seriously.
Yeah, they'll abandon their lyrics, you know, just because fuck the lyrics. You know, like I remember seeing their movie, Big Money Hustlers, and like a scene wouldn't work out, and that didn't work, and they just move on to the next thing, and it's like, Jesus Christ, man, these people don't give a fuck, and that's the me as the fan understands that, and I appreciate it, you know, and they're putting this out there for people, and they're not really spelling it out for the normies. You got to be a little savvy to see what they're doing, kind of thing, you know. I love that shit.
I saw a rant that you had on your YouTube channel too that kind of goes along with what you're talking about, and this is your like, if you need to know the BPM of a song before you start playing it, like you've lost your way. If you need a metronome, if you need a click track, you've lost your way. And I guess to like the music theory snob in me is like, I agree with you because I like Sun Ra more than I like almost any other. I mean, I like some Bob James. Bob James didn't need a metronome either, but there's something about people that are willing to abandon the tempo, the time signature, just explore around a little bit, even if it doesn't sound great right away, because part of that music is about appeasing and subjugating and meeting expectation as you're listening to it. So if it's always the 4/4 and the verse always hits on the downbeat and the bridge always wraps up in a nice little 4 measures, like some people enjoy that because they can tap their foot and they can turn their brain off and everything. But what you were kind of describing was, who cares if you get off beat a little bit or if the tempo fluctuates, and if you're basing it on like a specific computer-led BPM, then you've kind of lost your way. So I relate to you, and I think that that's what you're describing here too. Just apply that to lyrics, apply that to the entire song, not just to the BPM.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I love that whole idea. You do have a music background, eh? Because I see you as a member. I'm fairly new to your channel. I know you're big with comics.
This you have a music. My start was in music, so I was classically trained in piano for like 3 to 13 until I thought it wasn't cool anymore, and I stopped. And then I like got back into playing, but I jumped headfirst into sampling and drum machines. So I did care what the BPM was, and I have like 2 favorites. I've got 88 BPM and 94.7 BPM or 94.5, and I kind of like stick to those. So I like gravitate towards the very specific. But there was, I guess, in that world, it's kind of funny. There's like microcosms where I care about the BPM, but do you quantize, bro? Like I don't even quantize. So I'm a real musician because I don't quantize, or if I do quantize, I use a swing of 67% instead of, like 80% or whatever. And it's like just music critics sort of like nitpicks all the way down. But my background was in music originally, and I was trying to get my music heard by putting it into like conspiracy theory animations or music videos, guerrilla style. And then that turned into like, okay, I want to do animation. I want to do visual stuff more than audio, because, and this is why I was sort of asking you these litmus tests on like the metal crowd, or in like I perceive like the hip hop audience, they're also susceptible to conspiracy theories. I mean, mostly just like African American, just Black Americans in general, because they've always gotten the shorthand of the stick when it comes to the government. But there is this weird, sort of like unspoken criticism of conspiracy theories in general. That's like, you're such a nerd if you care about any of like that political stuff. Like, why do you even care about that, as opposed to, you know, getting money or getting more plays or whatever these other like sort of like ethereal rewards are. If you're not after those things, then even if they believe you, and I think at a certain point I was like, man, I need people that actually care about the lyrics, because musicians, you realize over time, someone will be like, that's my favorite song I've listened to over the last 20 years. And they don't know the lyrics to like the hook, and it's about something like very specific and deep. And it's just like, oh, I thought they were saying this the whole time, right? So music isn't always the best vehicle for like putting out some concept that you really feel is important to get out there, because sometimes it's just like a melody. You got a catchy melody, and you can get someone to sing along to the dumbest shit ever.
Yep. Yep. You know it. Like all the info stuff, I used a metronome for it. I think the first album was in 88 BPM. It is
It's
a
a
great
great BPM,
BPM,
man. I don't know what to say.
and it seems silly for me to talk shit about click tracks when it's the easiest way to build music. Is if you have a grid, you have a click track, because you can your verse is a chunk. That's all it is like a visual chunk at this point, and you can copy paste just for the sake of building a song. Uh, Click tracks are freaking great, but when it comes down to capturing, I don't know, a performance, yeah, I just as a drummer, I hate asking permission. You know what I mean? There's certain bands I'll see where when they play live, it's very clear that they're speeding up and slowing down, but they're doing that because it's excitement, and the crowd picks up on it. And this is a human event going on right now, and they're not asking permission. Ultimately, these people are doing that. And you know what I mean?
Well,
Um,
when you talk about like that human element, what do you feel about like AI music that's starting to become prevalent now, or at least accessible to the point where anyone's doing it?
um, Yeah, I see videos about it. I've never really listened to the AI metal yet.
That you know
What
of?
Yeah, true. But what bothers me is these AI videos. They don't have their thumbnails right, and their fucking M's will have an extra thing on it, or they got freaking seven fingers. As soon as I see AI artwork, I I don't want recommended anymore. That shit bugs the shit out of me. How do you feel about artwork, AI art? Um,
I think it can be done right, and it can be done improperly. And there was actually something that I recommend anyone look into this, but there was a survey that you can take yourself, and it's got 100 different images, and some of them are human made, some of them are AI generated, some of them are like traditional artwork, some look kind of like old school Bryce 3D or like Maya 3D kind of renderings and stuff. It's all across the gamut, and you just go through and you mark, do I think this is AI generated or human generated, and how strongly do you feel about all of this? And
yeah,
consistently, these things show that people don't actually know. They think that they know, but the
no
ones
shit.
the artwork that people feel the most confident about being AI or not AI are usually the ones that they're completely wrong about, because there is something. The one that I remember looking at, the one that majority of people thought was human made because it felt like it had this passion in it. It was sort of an impressionistic painting of like a Parisian cafe during night, and it was raining, and you could like, it looked like something someone would actually paint. And then the ones that were voted the most AI was like this really intricate, nonsensical 3D image of like a ship out in space, and like that was human made. And it was made in like 2007 or something, like way before AI would have been a possibility. So I think that even if you have an opinion on whether or not you like AI art or music or not, we're already at the point where you don't actually know. Like, and this is one of my favorite things is that what if you were to get someone to sit down and listen to an album? They're like, man, I really like that album. You're like, that whole thing was AI, by the way. Artwork, music, lyrics, everything was AI. What is the mental process? Does someone say like, oh, on second thought, the album kind of sucked. Yeah, that third track, that was really garbage. I didn't like that at all. Like, do they train themselves to like re-justify, because it seems almost that it would be harder for someone to be like, oh, maybe everything I know is wrong. Maybe I do judge things too quickly. That's usually not the first thing you go to.
Yeah, well, I guess. Yeah. Let's look at this the other way. Let's say AI art and music does get really good, and it just almost turns into like gooner porn. You know what I mean? Like where it's just nothing but ice cream the whole time, and it just blows everybody's senses out. Uh, it's an interesting concept, but I, I guess my whole outlook with music, as far as music is concerned, is I remember just like with Jared Dines and a lot of YouTube creators that were coming up, uh, that were blowing up. They were using, um, you know, Steven Slate drum samples, and everything is just crisp studio
Right.
quality.
They're just
And
loading that same addictive drums template up and dialing in the
yeah,
same thing every time.
but
Yeah.
it hits so hard. It sounds so good, and yeah, and a part of me who's being analog over here is like, man, fuck you guys,
Right.
because you're just getting it easy, and I got to work for it. And
Well, you said that
but
you're in the market for an EAD 10. Did you ever get your EAD
yes,
10?
I have an EAD 10 now, and it's freaking great, man. Because all it is just one mic, and you get what you get. And actually, honestly, it sounds really good. Uh, but that
Well,
has
if
just been
anyone
my
doesn't know what that is, EAD 10 is basically like a mic system for drums. So when you hit your analog drum here in Meat Space, it basically identifies what type of drum you hit, and it creates like an electronic version of that you
well,
can kind of record.
it can be used as that. So there's two mics on the EAD 10. There's like a stereo mic that goes like this, so it'll pick your whole kit up and like a
Mhm.
stereo image. And then there is a trigger that attaches to your bass drum, and you can assign whatever kind of sounds you want to that. I don't use the trigger. I just use the mic, so it picks up my kit, a stereo pickup, and I don't have to worry about freaking 10 mics anymore, and EQing and flipping polarities and all that garbage. It's one mic and it sounds really good. Um, but you can put a little compression on there and it glues everything together real nice. And it's analog. You know what I mean? Just what I play is what you hear, and then you can feed music into there. So whatever's in your headphone mix, you can just kind of shoot straight to your phone. It's so nice, man. There's no post production. You get your mix right, and you can just crap out some videos real quick. I've been trying just that whole idea of just being analog. AI is coming. Drum samples are so easy. Everyone has an E kit. Everyone has plugins for the guitars. Which, by the way, when I play guitar, it is all plugins. But just more of the idea that human human stuff, even if it kind of sucks and it's a little dumpy. Uh, that whole like using Steven Slate for your drum sound, I just feel like it's immediate gratification, and I'm bored of it. I feel like the people in general are becoming bored of it. I like raw, freaking no condom stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
I guess my pessimistic thought on this is that we can't discern the difference. Maybe we can now, but in 2 years we won't be able to discern the difference between one or the other. So then it's going to become less about who made it and just the merits on it. Like, we're almost now in a time of like DEI for music. Like, oh, I'm going to give a shot if it was made by a guy that like really grew up on the streets and he had to like lift himself off a Skid Row, versus like, oh, some Asian kid programmed this for his 7th grade school project and it just happens to make some really killer death metal, I think that at a certain point you're not going to know the difference between either of those things, and like the
Yeah.
things that you find yourself kind of relating to is going to be more important, and this won't even be a conversation at a certain point, because there's also going to be this really I think it's going to be a fascinating feedback loop where someone's going to make something in AI and it's going to be so good that you're going to have real bands covering it, but then you'll have like an AI sampled version of that cover that combines like the 5 best covers of the AI song, and then someone in Meat Space covers that as like an acoustic, but then someone makes a dubstep rip of it, right? So now, and this is going to be the trend of everything, not just music, but of movies and TV shows, where me and you, we're both like, man, I really love this ICP song, but your version is like the analog remix death metal, and we kind of have that already today, where someone's like, oh man, I love that song, but we're talking about 2 completely different songs, because mine's like the Ronnie Size version, and yours is like, like the White Zombie version or something. It's basically the same song from 2 different perspectives. Only that's going to be like Josh Steffen's mix versus Paranoid American's mix. Like, we're not even talking about artists that we share in common. We're like the one that I made based on whatever I like to listen to.
Honestly, I do look forward to something crazy like that happening too, where it would be smart enough to just kind of take all these elements and mold them together in ways that nobody could even imagine, and yet be, recycled and, post processed, redone.
My prediction is basically that a new album drops, right? Your favorite Meat Space artist, I don't who is like, if someone were to drop an album tomorrow and you were like, what? They dropped an album? I'm going and I'm buying it right now. Like, do you have any of those? Like, is it Metallica? Is like Lars comes out with a solo album, you're like, I'm on it. So if Lars were to come out, with a solo album, but the future of AI in our lifetimes would be when you put it into your CD player, your computer, wherever you're gonna like pop, or it's probably gonna be like an MP3 album, but whatever, you put your vinyl on or something, as it goes through your sound system is gonna like check all the other songs that you've played recently. It's like, okay, this guy really likes this time signature and this key and this sort of pace and this BPM. So let's take what I'm being fed now and just kind of give it that feel based on everything that I know. So it's like, you don't even have to sit down and do anything active to change your version of the Lars album. But then, like, maybe I've been playing Public Enemy for the last year. So when I play the Lars album, it's like Public Enemy mixed with Lars in a way, but it's so subtle that I don't pick up on it. It's just enough for me to prefer it.
Maybe it'll be like filters on like a photo. It'll be it'll be tailored to you. The algorithm will have a tailored audio filter.
Because right now tailored audio is basically your balance and your fade, and like maybe if you boost your bass a little bit, like everyone's got certain EQ levels for certain types of music that they prefer to listen to. But this would be more like giving it a little bit of a southern twang to every single album you put through your speaker system, because you got a bunch of like, CCR in your playlist.
It'd be your preferred AI modulator.
Right. Right. And it'll probably just be as normal as just like, that's part of your new Ford Focus. It has the AI modulated music system built in, because of course, why wouldn't it?
It's definitely going to get interesting, like awfully quick, with AI and all that stuff.
Well, and we're seeing it, in my opinion, we're seeing it kind of like news right now. So like, depending on the news network that you get your information from, it does that same thing. It takes this objective information, and it's no longer a song. Now it's like a thing that happened out in the world. And then it goes through these filters, and you get someone like, I would really like this song more if someone was screaming it at me, right? Or I would like the song more if the guy screaming it was also kind of wearing like a funny tinfoil hat and like slamming his fists. So I know that he's angry and being serious, but I also know there's like a comedy to it. Just that filter for your music. Now, like, your music comes through and it's got like an angry tinfoil hat guy that's screaming, but he's also being kind of funny about it.
It's an interesting thought, man. That's for sure.
Well, we don't have to think about it. It's going to be happening. It'll be happening in the next few years, I think.
I believe it. Yep. Yeah, I was looking into AI last year. I guess maybe you could say the algorithm was showing me a lot of AI stuff, and yeah, it's crazy, man. Um, that can kind of go back to shit I learned too with transhumanism. And I remember seeing Ray Kurzweil on Real Time with Bill Maher. I think it was like 2010, and he was talking about people used to make fun of me when I'd say we'd be watching TV on our phones. Well, like a phone would be like this big, and now I'm telling you that we're going to have nanobots in controlling the climate. You're going to have nanobots in your body, the size of a red blood cell. That's going to control your, going to keep you healthy. And dude,
Well,
everybody
those
was just kind of
where you get your
look.
music from. Like you're not going to need headphones anymore. The nanobots just dock themselves in the inside of your ear canal, and they just do it for you. If you've got
Yeah,
the upgraded like iPhone 27 nanobots only.
yeah, right. You know, Kurzweil that was the keyboard maker as well.
Right.
Did you
Well,
know
his
that?
dad is, right? His dad. And then the guy that we isn't the guy we know now like a relative, or is he the actual keyboard
No,
guy?
I think he's the actual keyboard guy, uh, and his passion came from his dad, dying from a disease, and he wanted to try to replicate, uh, his dad through, technology, some kind of story like that. But yeah, I believe the same guy who is on the Google board now is the same guy that created the keyboards in the '80s. It was yeah, pretty interesting guy. But I remember,
Again, we've got this is sounds like military intelligence, just like the new version of Laurel Canyon.
yeah, exactly. But he was talking that shit in 2010, and it's like, okay, well, apparently this stuff is coming. He said, I believe he said by 2030, and this was in 2010. And
Yeah,
dude,
well,
yeah, again,
Ghost in the Shell repeats Kurzweil's prediction for singularity, which I think happens in like 2029 or 2030, and that was repeated in Ghost in the Shell anime, which was then repeated in the Matrix, which now gets repeated religiously, but it all kind of goes back to Kurzweil, and it does feel like we're on that trajectory. And I guess that moment of singularity, that's the day in the most superficial way. That's when you no longer have the ability to tell if the music or the media or the writing that you're consuming right now was done by a human or a computer. Like there's no way to really tell unless
yeah,
you are also someone that works in that field and can look for like these telltale fingerprint signs, which most people wouldn't be.
right. Uh, it's crazy, crazy shit, man. It's cool to be alive now. Um, to go from Atari up to the shit we're dealing with now, and into the future. It's crazy. Um, you know what I mean?
You know,
Did you
every
grow up?
I did. I grew.
Nintendo came out when
I
I was
didn't have
born.
the Atari. My one of my like friends had the Atari, but we were never allowed to play it. But I always knew it sucked. Like even when I did get to play
Yeah,
Atari, it was like this is garbage. That doesn't look like the Kool-Aid Man. That does not look like Porky's Revenge. These are just
yeah.
like a
I
red
should have.
square on
Yeah,
the screen.
I should have said Nintendo because like Nintendo came out like basically when we were born. Atari was kind of like a 4-track player, where it's like
Yeah,
like an
like your
8-track
friend's
player was like,
older brother would have the Atari or something
yeah,
because they did
yeah,
play
he
it.
did. Exactly.
No,
Uh,
we had a Nintendo, we had the Sega Master System, and then I had the Sega Genesis, and then the PlayStation. I skipped the Super Nintendo and the N64 and the GameCube and all that, but
yeah,
I remember each one of those iterations. I guess Sega Genesis was the first time it came with Sonic the Hedgehog, and there was a level where there was this big like half morning star that would swing back and forth, and the way that they rendered it, it looked so real in 3D, and I was like, I can't believe how realistic this is, even though it was, like a digital representation. And then like PlayStation 1 came out and it's like, oh my, I can't tell the difference between
yeah,
real life and video games anymore. Now we're talking like PS6 and we're getting closer and closer to Uncanny Valley. But that, I think also that Uncanny Valley is part of Kurzweil's singularity, and that like around that same time, it'll just be like, oh shit, I actually don't know if this is real or not. And it's weird that again, AI might be the thing that's taking us there because the 3D renderings and all of this like realistic looking CGI in movies, it does enter that uncanny valley area because like our eyes are being able to focus on just the things that stand out. But when it comes to AI, uncanny valley still exists, but it's like, I don't know what the telltale sign is, because it's like they got 5 fingers and they got like the 2 eyes, like everything's where it should be, but there's just something about this. But man, that it feels like it's the last moments, like kids that are going to be born in 10 years are going to be growing up in a world where there is no uncanny valley, or it's going to be like so far outside their discernment that they'll like an evolutionary way, their brain is going to be like, no, that this can't be real. Everything is real, right?
Yeah. There's designer babies, all that good stuff that's going to be coming. Dude, what the hell? That Brave New World type of stuff. You'll be able to feed in genetics, take out
I want to
things.
get into more speculation on what you think is coming, other conspiracy theories that you might be beholden to. So here, I've got a really quick segment that's going to wrap this up for us. Let me just play it and then I'll explain the rules.
Hey, conspiracy buffs, I double dare you to take some PCP, the Paranormal Conspiracy Probe. On your marks, get set, and go!
All right. We have kind of danced around a few different topics here, but now I'm going to try and get you to rate different conspiracy theories or topics from 1 to 10. So if you give it a 1, it's like you don't believe in it at all. You get a 5, you don't care, you haven't made up your mind. And if you give it a 10, like you're all in. So if I were to say 9/11 is an inside job on a scale from 1 to 10, where are you at on that one?
Yeah, I would give it a 9 or a 10.
Okay.
Yes.
Flat Earth.
Oh, well, let's say a 4 or a 6. I guess you could say I'll give it a 5 because I'm in it for the entertainment.
What about Bigfoot?
I'll give it a 5.
What about David Icke shape-shifting reptilians?
Well, when I was a rookie conspiracy guy, I would have gave it a 1. Now I would give it a 7.
Okay, I like that trajectory. I like that a lot. What about little gray aliens like X-Files, Roswell style?
I think that's just as likely as the reptilians. I would put that at a 7 as well.
All right. How about demons, like biblical demons?
Same thing. I would think if one thing is a thing, they all would be, and they either not in the same realm. They're floating somewhere in that stratosphere.
So does this apply to say like angels and jinn and genies and everything? They're just different perspectives, different angles.
Yeah, Christ, I seen you interviewing Jerry Marzetti. Is that his name? The guy with the
Jerry Marzinski.
But the stuff he talks about with schizophrenics, that could be in the same stratosphere as all this stuff as well. Who are we to say? You know?
I find that fascinating. Like maybe we are the VR helmets for all of these weird entities that are floating around. So you're not necessarily a meth addict. You're just the VR helmet that a astral meth addict got his hands on. And every time he wants to go and do meth, he just pops on the Josh. I'm not saying you do meth. He pops on the Josh VR helmet and he's like, let's do some meth, man. You know what I mean? I find that to be fascinating because it doesn't seem like it's a claim you can prove or disprove. It's very much a different, it's like a non-scientific way of thinking. It's just a complete like perspective shift. So shout out Jerry Brzezinski, man. Such a phenomenal way of looking at stuff. Also because he approached it from a skeptical, like atheistic point of view, where he wasn't looking for demons. He was just like, damn, this keeps coming up over and over again.
That guy's fascinating. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm sorry, I didn't want to take away from your segment here.
So Shape-shifting aliens, grays, demons, angels, jinn, all kind of get like a 7. So more believable than not that it would actually exist. What about
Yeah.
they're turning the frogs gay?
Well, yeah, I think well, there's the outrageous sound of it, and then there's atrazine and all that stuff, right? Wasn't it
Right.
atrazine
Yeah.
that's causing it?
So atrazine is a runoff chemical that triggers an innate ability in frogs to change their gender under certain conditions and times of stress, or when it's just like a response to a population. If there's like a freaking wiener roast going on, then one of the frogs is like, "I'll be the chick tonight," and they flip over into a chick. So now everyone bangs the chick frog, and they can reproduce. I mean, I'm grossly oversimplifying a little bit, but that's kind
Yeah.
of what happens. And this is a chemical way of inducing that same environmental stressor that would also result in that behavior. So in that case, they're turning the
I,
freaking frogs gay.
I'd give it a 10, just under the principle that yes, um, shit like that has an environmental effect. It's been demonstrated. Plastics can be estrogen mimickers, all that stuff. These things can, endocrine disruptors. Yeah, 10, absolutely. But for just to make it all sound like all the frogs are gay, it's just a dumb way to say it. But yeah, I think it has a bigger effect on people, as a whole. But it's more of just a sensational term. You know what I mean?
And I'll add a fun little pop quiz question in here too. That's not just the 1 to 10, but on that same note of you say a thing, they're turning the frogs gay, and it like takes on an entire life of its own. It represents something real, but it turns into its own thing that people dismiss because of how silly it sounds. So on that same note, do you remember "Don't Tase Me, Bro"? Do you remember that particular meme? Do you
Yes, I did.
remember what he got tased for?
Oh, I I'm going to say no, but I remember once I woke up to stuff. I remember hearing once what the situation was for, and I was like, "Oh my god, dude! I thought that was so funny at the time because you used to watch Bill O'Reilly, and you made like a big joke out of it that this
Right,
kid was
right.
getting tased. What was it?
He asked
I forgot.
John Kerry about his time as a Skull and Bones secret society member, and
No
if that was
way!
a concern for the American voting public, because this was right up to the John Kerry Bush election, and that's what he got tased for, was for asking about the
Oh,
Skull and Bones, which is crazy because everyone remembers the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" and all
yep,
the remixes and the memes and the reenactments. But the dude was legitimately asking
no
whether we
shit.
should care that he was in the secret society at Yale. And
Damn,
that part doesn't get remembered the same way that
damn.
they're turning frogs gay. What is like, some LGBT guy like trying to turn? No, we're talking about agricultural runoff that is not being regulated, and it's seeping itself into your water supply by proxy.
Yeah,
Like, if you don't care about the frogs turning gay, they definitely don't care if their chemicals are going to turn you gay. But that part gets left out because of how silly the original claim is. Just like, haha, don't
yeah.
tase me, and it erases everything that came before that.
Yeah, there's a company in my local area that has a lawsuit for freaking contaminating the soil with whatever the hell they're doing. I mean, yeah, of course this shit happens all the time. Um, yep, it's how it goes. But yeah, it's if you got a crazy guy slamming papers around calling frogs gay, yeah, there's a sensational aspect to it. But
Maybe
absolutely,
I think too that those kind of events where maybe someone like me or you in 30 years after it's no longer relevant, maybe they'll care, and they'll only find out about it because of how sensational some of the claims were and the big backlash, and they'll be like, that is going to be the staying power that'll make it still relevant in 30
yeah,
years from now, even though in the short term we're still laughing about the memes that came out of it, but that'll lose some of their relevance and some of like the entertainment value, and the facts will remain there. Like, that's on the record. So we're just kind of
that's a
banking
great
on
point.
conspiracy theorists to like find it because we planted these crazy, flags in the ground.
Yep, yep, and that's why I like to fish around for any of this stuff because yeah, whether you take it or leave it, or if there's only like a one little small fragment of it that uh, you keep it with you. At some point, it that might be a seed that's planted, and it's going to become relevant down the road when you actually learn something that's going on, and it coincides. You know, I love
Well,
that shit.
I appreciate you being here and helping plant seeds with me with like your info metal and everything else. We didn't even get to talk about the Larsisms. Let me use that to lead into like all your plugs and where people can find you. You got a Patreon. They can buy your album. I don't know. Are you still selling it for just like anything that someone wants to pay? You'll just send them all your music?
Yeah, I mean, if someone wanted to, send me something on PayPal, yeah, I send them like a zip file of like all the info metal stuff. I'm on Spotify. I'm on, I am on all those streaming sites as well. It's either under Josh Steffen or info metal, but I have multiple albums like with Alex Jones. And I honestly, if you like conspiracy stuff, you like heavy metal, it's you'll get a kick out of it.
Oh yeah, and planting seeds. Like even if it's not for you, make sure that you grab this music by John Steffen and share it around so that maybe the next generation can find it, and that'll be their apple seed into finding all these crazy, and also realizing that the metal crowd is a little bit more varied, right? They're not all Zach De La Rocha and Tom Morello trust fund babies that
Yeah.
like lean directly into the system. We also got some weird schizos that believe in gay frogs, just like me.
Exactly. But yeah, you can follow me on YouTube, at Josh Steffen. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Josh Steffen drums, Josh Steffen drummer on Instagram. Uh, but yeah, I'm just being a dork. I'm playing drums. Yeah, I do Larsing videos. I play drums like Lars. They're essentially like mashup videos. Um, I play just like Lars Ulrich. It's kind of self-deprecating a little bit, but it's funny. And again, I'm trying to the things that make me laugh, and it's all the stuff I like doing.
Can you describe to what Larsisms are?
Okay. Well, I have a T-shirt that has a list of them. Larsisms. They're all parts of his drumming technique. I think number one is let's swap the ride with a China. You won't use a ride symbol. It's got to be a China, which is super obnoxious. Um, you always got to go for a symbol on two, not one. Usually the symbol is like the capital letter and like the first of the first word. You know what I mean? He'll wait and do it on the second count or the third count. Um, Double bass is optional. He basically whatever he puts in his albums, if it's has double bass, he ain't gonna do that live. No one will notice. It's just he'll totally disregard how the song was written. Kind of like you were saying about lyrics, how you can like cherish how lyrics are written, and if you go see someone live and they're just kind of like changing the flow of them, and okay, that's what Lars Ulrich does. Like, but he's just doing whatever he wants at that time, and basically that's what he was doing in the studio. And I try to basically take his most absurd habits and apply them to songs that he doesn't play in. Like
Are these criticisms of Lars, or are they just like patterns that you're pointing out for like comedic effect?
yeah, it's I consider it kind of like a Comedy Central roast. You only do it to people you
Okay.
admire. You know what I mean? There are other people that do it, and you might say they're a little more mean spirited, or it's more just like a bullying sense. But I try to do it where he does have absolute trademark things that he does on the drums, and you definitely hear them like in my Larsing videos. And I do have a little bit of that, kind of being a shithead, picking on more of his lesser tendencies, I guess you'd say. But I wouldn't be a drummer if it wasn't for Lars Ulrich. I totally admire the guy. I still love everything he does, even if he does play the way he does. He's not a bad drummer. He has a great technique, and he adheres to that thing I say about no click track. When you go and see a Metallica concert, dude, you're it's like a fucking train that could derail at any moment, and sometimes it kind of does. But uh, it's a live experience, and it's four dudes, and it's being directed by this one guy, and he knows how to build on an audience. Like that's honestly, I feel like that's the drummer's duty is to create tension and speed things up, make things more exciting. They're, they're kind of like a guide. At least that's how I see the drummer. And Lars definitely is a guide. But
Have we fully forgiven Lars for Napster?
I have absolutely. Um, I never really got mad at him, and I kind of see it like, well, I'll just say this is relevant too because I'm here. The way Alex Jones is tied in with Sandy Hook and the public feels about Alex Jones, I feel like that's how the public feels about Lars and Napster. And it's really just like a big PR misunderstanding. And but as far as Lars is concerned, let's just get rid of the whole Sandy guy. I don't want to tether that whole thing onto comparing it with Lars. But
No, I get what you mean though, in that he almost became like a figurehead for a controversy that went way outside of him. Like he was in
yeah,
many ways. If you look into the Lars Napster sort of like controversy, it's not like Lars understood software development and network infrastructure and like these distribution systems. He was part of one of the biggest names out of all of the other musicians that were lending a sympathetic ear to this cause and this perceived injustice. And he was vocal about it in the right sound clip at the right time and became like, it's not like he signed up to be like, and I'm going to spearhead this whole entire initiative. It was just like, he made a comment, he had an opinion about it, and now he became the face to that thing. And it garnered all this sort of like unjustified hatred towards him particular, when really
he's just
an industry thing.
He's just a big millionaire, and he's out of touch, and he's trying to arrest people for downloading his music and all that. And it's not, it's. I remember even hearing it from himself. He says, "I Disappear" just came out. We had a demo. It wasn't even finished yet, and somehow this song got leaked onto Napster, which was a brand new thing at the time. And Metallica is all about control. And they always have been. I mean, they're one of the bands that they don't really seem like they take any shit from the industry. Um, they're like very good at being self-contained, and their shit got leaked out into the public without their say so. That's honestly, he's like that's where the issue comes from. He's like, this is our stuff. If we want to we can give this to you for free. We don't care. But the fact that you heard this and it wasn't, we didn't want that to happen. That's what the big problem was. Anybody should be able to understand that, but it's easy to go, hey, he's freaking rich. He's freaking dick, you know?
Well, it was really a downfall of the, usually it happens in the mastering aspect, or like someone in the engineering booth now has access to these files in Pro Tools or whatever, and like if they just transfer it to a disk, bam. And I think the other big one that a lot of people were going against Napster on the same time, it was the CD distribution plans, the ones that would but you were mentioning something that wasn't even really finished at the time. So that had to have come out of the engineering booth some way or another, right? Someone got their
exactly.
hands on that. So that was the weak link. It wasn't like Napster hacked into, like, became sentient and hacked into the studio and released it. That was a super fan / engineer guy that was just like, I'm gonna make myself like digital famous. And it was probably like some name that no one even heard of. Again, Shadowman 698 or something. So it was more about like feeling like I put that out in there. Like you almost get to, like, in a magical way, take away some of the magic that this group of wizards have been working on for months, and you're like, I did this, and you get to release that.
And I can totally get that, where if you're going to show them something that they've never seen before and you're giving them a tarnished version of what you want, you'll never capture the impact of what they. I totally get that. But yeah, it's just a huge misunderstanding on it, and it's funny that all these bands agreed with them and they all kept quiet because they didn't want they seen what was going on with Lars and the backlash he got.
Yeah, I mean,
But
how many people agreed with Alex Jones, and they were like, "Whoa, I'm not going to touch that one now."
yeah, yeah, that's for sure.
So,
Um,
well,
I love Napster. I was using it at the same time, download all my shit. Yeah.
it's a weird space to be in, man, because like unless you believe that you should get all your music from mainstream sources, which almost seems like anti-metal, right? So like finding it online or on the seven Cs is almost like a metal way to discover it. But at a certain point, you gotta like turn into a supporter somehow.
Yes.
And the best way someone can do that now is they can just PayPal you some cash, $10, $100, $1,000, whatever it is, and you send them everything that you've made. It's got pictures, it's got music, and not just that, but you've got hours and hours of free content on your YouTube. A lot of it's like playing Lars style versions of stuff, but also just playing like Slipknot and Korn. So I assume there's probably a lot of people that are just looking to learn how to play drums, and they're just watching
Yeah.
someone play their favorite song and figure out, oh, that's how they do it, because you got the camera set up at a really perfect angle. It's good lighting. You can see exactly what drum you're hitting at what time. So they're really informational. So
Yeah, and I
think
got
they
like
do
a
all that.
thousand videos. I got playlists for bands. I make everything real easy for you to navigate. And yeah, I've been doing this for over a decade, and yeah, I got thousands of videos to check
So
out
if a
if you're
Patreon
interested.
signs up today and they're just like, I'm going to sign up for $1 million, and you just get $1 million lump payment. Well, after PayPal takes their fees, you'll get like 7 grand. But after you get
Yeah.
the huge influx of money, what are you doing with it? Like, what are you going to, are you building a studio? Are you going to create an album?
Yeah,
Like, what are you doing?
honestly, yeah, I would love to. I've been working on creating a better situation, like my space now. And yeah, I mean, I got computers to buy, I got software to get. There's tons of stuff I would love to do, but ultimately, yeah, I I love playing music. I've taught thousands of people how to play drums just through my videos, and it's incredible because I really didn't even mean to do that. I just wanted to keep. It gave me an excuse to keep playing drums. Like, oh, I could record this and then I can put it up here, and I'm going to do it again tomorrow. It gave me a reason to play drums all the time. And then to find out I made this big impact with like the drum community. Yeah, it's freaking incredible.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean, if
if
you're doing it for yourself, you end up doing it for everyone else too, because they're like, "Oh, this guy can do this every day. Maybe I can do something like this." And now they're like, you're inspiring thousands of other people to also play more drums, which they otherwise wouldn't have. So I think that's
yeah,
remarkable.
it's great to have that full circle moment where yeah, I am literally just a fan who like has like these people I look up to as drummers, and to get feedback from them or get people that watched me 10 years ago and now they are a professional drummer, and it was because of my freaking videos. Yeah, it's that freaking rules, man. It's incredible. But
Yeah,
if someone wants to
and
do the PayPal thing, it's PayPal me / Josh Steffen. But
I'll
you
put
know
all your
this.
links on there in the description so people can find that easily. And I just want to mention it's just a cherry on top that you also happen to be a conspiracy theorist, in
Yeah.
addition to all that. So that's just the selling point.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like everybody has their own flavor, and yeah, mine has always been metal, comedy, and conspiracy theory stuff. And there isn't much of a pocket for that yet. 'Cause, yeah, whether I'm talking drums with people or conspiracy theory shit, I love it. My freaking lips get stuck to my teeth. My eyes get all freaking big. It's a blast. I'm all about it. Oh yeah, and yeah, it's great. I'm real great to do this with you because it's a new community. And yeah, I feel like a lot of my conspiracy tendencies and my info metal stuff, it doesn't spill out to the right people. My channel has been kind of fractured because of info metal. I just went from a non-political guy who plays drums and that's it to, well, now everybody thinks I'm a freaking right-wing extremist. But yeah, really, it's always been the same for me. It's all fun and games. You know, and yeah, metal's supposed to be offensive and kind of edgy. What's more edgy than Alex Jones talking about freaking vampire pedophiles? Yeah, chopping your dick off. It's freaking great, especially in this day and age where none of that stuff is allowed. It's excellent. Yeah, I've had videos taken down that get this, Cannibal Corpse is a band. Like gangster rap is a thing. Dude, there's so much bad stuff. If you really want to call it bad, I've had videos taken down because Alex Jones is in them. How metal is that? That's how I see it.
It is wild, but also it's like if you are big enough that you've got people that can contact the people that work at the place that your stuff got taken down, then you don't get your stuff taken down because they know that they'll get a call that says, "Why was my stuff?"
Yeah.
But they look at me and you and they're like, they don't have people. Like their people aren't going to call my people. So it just exists in a different class of like the haves and have-nots, where the have is like, do you have a lawyer that will contact my lawyers? And if you don't have that, then you operate under a slightly different contract. It's weird, but I don't think it's a dynamic that's ever going to change, at least for our natural born lives, for sure. Maybe Kurzweil will live long enough to see a different reality, but I don't think we will.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, thanks for spending damn near 2 hours with me, Josh, talking about metal and conspiracy and Alex Jones. I like nothing more than all of these things combined. And again, all the links are going to be in the description. You can go and watch some of Josh's sort of top videos and the things that are being referred to as info metal. So, if you get offended by a red hat, maybe don't watch, or maybe you should and leave some nasty comments because it just keeps us going.
Yeah. By all means, please comment. I love it. Please engage. But yeah, thanks a lot, dude. This has been awesome. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, until next time, guys. I'll play a couple little outros. I updated my credit screen, so all the Patreons, anyone that's in like the different tiers, gets credits at the top or the bottom in billing. And I'm going to try and update it every single time a new person joins. I'll update my credit screen. So please, that's what's keeping all of this going. Join the Patreon and join the YouTube and buy all of the things and send Josh money. That's how all this works. So I'll see you guys for the next one.
All right, there, y'all.
Paranoid. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlight your brain? Give you the flight, my plane, paper the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hey, maybe your language, a game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out. Nuclear bomb distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Matters not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal. You're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal. You're welcome. Yet they doing it still. You're welcome.